The bottom there attaches to the inverter. Snaps right in. There's only one way it could go in. Easy connector. And then plug the LCD into the screen. LCD cable. Squeeze both sides. Pull it. It goes right in the connector. Now the only thing we got hanging is the webcam ribbon, which when we flip the screen over, we're going to gently put that in place and fasten it. It has just a ribbon. It's just a ribbon cable, and it fastens like a normal keyboard or mouse pad ribbon cable would fasten. Okay, just make sure that ribbon cable's fastened properly. Then just let the screen rest back. And we're going to go ahead and just screw in the screws into the side and fasten the screen in. I'm just going to speed up the video here while I do that. Got one side done. They're tiny little screws. Sometimes they can be a little hard to work with. Okay, 4 on each side, good to go. Now what we're going to do is tighten up the hinges here. Use a heavier screwdriver just to make sure there's a little extra torque, because you don't want those screws to become loose. That's when the screen starts to flop all around. Okay, now we are going to take the front bezel here and snap it back on to the front of the screen. Okay, I started with that right hinge because a lot of times on Dells, on the right hinge, sometimes you got to loop a piece of the bezel into the hinge before it'll snap in. And then the rest of it should just fall into place. Snap it as you go around, and then just always just double check to make sure you got everything snapped in properly. Even down by the Dell logo there, that needs to snap in. That Dell logo right above the keyboard, you'll see it when I turn it around. You're looking for any area that's lumping out and that's not sitting flat. Okay, we did flatten it there. And then once that's done, it's time to put the screws back in. Now remember, we're going to keep them in the same pattern as the way we took them out. So we know that that one goes in the bottom right. And the reason, again, I do that is because each screw is going to have a certain amount of glue on it, different amount of glue on it than the other. And because you're using those screws with the rubber pieces, you want to make sure the amount of glue is the same, just to keep consistency so none of the rubber pieces come falling off. So. Okay, almost done with all the screws. We're going to tighten them up. Don't over tighten them. I don't like to over tighten anything on a laptop because you're dealing with a lot of plastic, and over tightening plastic tends to weaken it. Just make them snug. Now we're going to take the rubber pieces and put them back on. And in the upper left corner. And then those two screws by the webcam are not rubber, they're flat pieces of plastic. And they're just there for cosmetic reasons. So you don't see the screw head. Can put a little pressure on each one of those after you're done putting them in. Make sure that they stick. Okay, now we're going to get that gaggle of wires to stay down. Make sure it's in the right spot. If it's in the right spot, the hinge cover will do the work of keeping it down. They all have pre-indented slots there that all the wires should go into. So this hinge cover should be able to lay flush. And if it's not sitting flat, just double check to see if there's anything under there. Okay, and it looks like this one is done. Back cover replaced. And that's how you do that on a Dell Inspiron laptop.